Hey folks, welcome back. If you're new here, we are Total Health and Wellness. I'm Mark, I'm a certified health coach, and this is Teresa. She's a board certified family nurse practitioner, and we like to talk about hormones, metabolic health, and everything in between.
Yes.
So speaking of that, tonight we're going to talk to you guys a little bit about the importance of bone health. But before we do that, I'm going to show you guys what we're having for dinner really quick here. Tonight is steak night, so yum. I have a ribeye here, and I've got it loaded with cheese on top. I love having cheese on top of my steak. And then we have Teresa's pepperoni and cheese chips that she makes in the oven. A little bit of scrambled eggs, and then we were indulging a little bit today and had some fresh guacamole that we found at one of the local. I always cut myself out of the camera when I'm showing stuff. Hey there, everybody can see me. A little bit of fresh guacamole that we found at one of the local stores.
Which is why we call ourselves ketovore. So when that comes up, we could do that.
Yeah, not 100% carnivore, but
Yeah.
pretty darn close. Just going to move the microphone a little bit closer to us, speaking of that while we're talking. So this issue with bone health is it's interesting. We don't talk about it enough. We should be talking about it more. And Teresa and I were having a conversation before we started this video about bone health. And one of the reasons we kind of surmised that it's not getting the attention it deserves is because it's really a disease. The weakness in bones or difficulty with having strong, dense bones is really a problem that's more common in women than it is in men. And as Teresa talks about a lot, women are being shunned, ostracized, and marginalized in Western medicine in a lot of different ways, this included. So you were saying,
I said, if he was saying, why do you think this is? And I said, I'm not sure, but if men's bones crumbled at 50, they would figure something out. If men's testicles shriveled up like our ovaries do around 50, they would figure out why or how to help. I mean, Viagra and all of those things are readily given. Insurance pays for them. It's just a complete disparity.
Yeah, and it's a shame too.
Yeah.
Let's talk a little bit about the bones first. So when bones are being formed in our body, about 90% of our bone mass is formed by the time you're 18 for a woman and by the time you're 20 for a man. And then you reach probably the peak bone density, or your bones are at their strongest point, provided you're healthy, when you hit about 30 years old, and you maintain that until you're about 50 years old.
Yeah.
After 50 years old, you start having some people, if they're not healthy or they're not taking care of themselves properly, can start having, or they have disease processes happening or whatnot, they can start having issues with their bones. So they can lose the bone density, and they can also lose the ability to regenerate the new bones. So your bones are constantly renewed by a process called remodeling. And all that means is it's uptaking nutrients and sloughing off old bone cells and creating new ones that are stronger and better. Our body does that in a lot of different areas, but it's also included in the bones.
Yeah.
So the good news is there's several things you guys can do to help take care of your bones. We talk about these a lot, and some of them are easy and literally free. And the first two we want to talk about is weight bearing. And that's especially important because you see Teresa, she's wearing her weighted vest. If you guys are interested in purchasing a weighted vest, they've got them on Amazon. If you get a fixed one, like Teresa's is a fixed 20-pound weight weighted vest, and they're a little bit cheaper when they're fixed weight like that.
Yeah.
You can also get adjustable ones that have different weights you can take on and off and whatnot. Those tend to be a little more expensive because they've got more moving parts and there's more weight.
And
there.
I would suggest buying the heavier one. I didn't want to buy a 15 or a 12 and then move out too quickly. So I bought the heavier one. When I first put this on, I was like, oh my word. When I tried to lift it off the porch from the Amazon delivery, I was like, oh my word. So I really only wore it like 10 minutes twice a day and then slowly built up. If you got a 10 or a 12, you'd probably be able to get right off walking with it and doing everything. But the higher weight you could grow into.
Yeah, for sure. And then after you, like Teresa said, once you get kind of grow into it, you get used to the weight, then you can start doing walking and things like that with it, because walking and running and things like that, even though I'm not a huge fan of running anymore, I did a lot when I was younger, but walking is actually very effective for strengthening your leg bones and whatnot. The constant impact, there's different processes that take place in your bones, and they sense when they're getting utilized, and that impact sends signals that your body has to create stronger, denser bones. So we mentioned the weighted vests and weight bearing. We mentioned walking, also resistance training, obviously. So going and lifting heavy objects at the gym. That's another important component to keeping your bones very healthy. Proper nutrition, supplementation. So specifically 3 supplements that you guys can take that help with bone health right off the bat is magnesium, vitamin D, and vitamin K. And you want to take the 3 of those together because they work synergistically. They have a lot of benefits other than bone health as well. However, they're very effective for that too.
Yeah.
And then,
let me say
oh,
something.
go ahead. Yeah.
So if a patient comes in and they have straight osteoporosis, I will also put them on strontium for about 1 year and then have them take the strontium away and continue with the D and the K and the mag. The other thing, this is outdated information, but still given, is to take calcium supplements. Calcium can get stuck in your coronaries, your vessels, and does not build bone as effectively as D, K, mag, and then of course hormones. We've reversed osteoporosis in the office.
Yeah, and Teresa's going to talk a little bit about osteoporosis, osteopenia, and hormones specifically, because she actually treats those conditions with hormones. And she'll talk about that here in a minute, though. But just to kind of get back at the mag, the D, and the K for supplement, and then, of course, eating foods that are rich in those types of things. And so ultimately, why are bones important? Apart from giving us a structure to our body, enabling us to move and use our muscles properly, also they protect our organs. And then something else too is they're actually a storage place, a storage location for essential nutrients that your body also needs. And calcium being one of those, your bones have a lot of it in there, so they can actually utilize the calcium if needed. Your body can just pull that right out of the bone structure and utilize that. So it's kind of cool. The human body is amazing.
It is. It was divinely designed
Absolutely.
to work perfectly, as long as you're not, doing drugs all day and drinking alcohol and if you're supporting it.
Yeah, for sure.
And yes, magnesium glycinate is totally fine. That's what we take. That's the magnesium we take.
And the other one that is pretty common is magnesium citrate. And for those of you watching who decide to buy magnesium, be careful with the citrate because it can upset your stomach. And Teresa will actually utilize this for people who are constipated. Like you take the magnesium citrate and it can loosen things up a little bit. Yeah. So just keep that in mind if you guys are ordering, because citrate's also cheaper. So if you go to Amazon or wherever and you're looking and you say, oh, glycinate's like $50 for a bottle, and citrate's only $20 a bottle, there's a reason why.
If you go on our full script link, we have it as one of our favorites. So.
Yeah. Links to everything we talk about, for those of you guys don't know, we put them in the description on YouTube. We put them in the comments on Facebook. So check those out. We have a ton of links to different things. But in any case, you want to talk a little bit about hormones. And
so estrogen's job is bone health, and one of her main jobs. And so that's one reason why osteoporosis is more of a female disease. So as you start to age, your bones break down. And as you start to age, what else happens? You lose hormones, specifically estrogen around 50. And so then you're not having the protection. So you go from normal, and on the DEXA scan, that's what you need. And your insurance should pay for it. You get one every 2 years. I send my patients down to Missouri State University, $75. They just call themselves and schedule it. But it goes from normal, and then it goes to a negative. It's on a continuum. And so if you go the negative way, it becomes osteopenia, which is the start. It's like prediabetes, but is it really? Like if you have a problem, you have a problem. And then it goes to osteoporosis. And we've reversed that in the office, but it does take a long time. But when you're on hormones, it remodels your bone perfectly. The architecture, I'm not a house builder, but I can only imagine if you didn't lay the concrete, the foundation correctly, and then you try to put up walls and beams and columns and floors and walls and all that stuff, it's going to collapse in. So the medicines that Western corporate medicine treat with, like Prolia, Fosamax, and Boniva, they chaotically restructure the brain. Their architecture is chaotic, whereas hormones is perfect because God made us with estradiol and progesterone. Some of the side effects, which I never knew about until I got into the space I'm into, but Fosamax, for one, has a half-life of 10 years. I mean, when I first heard that and read it, and you can Google it, I was floored. Like, if you don't like a medicine and you think you had reactions or you just didn't like it, so you stop it, but you have to wait 10 years for it to leave your body. That's crazy.
Yeah, that's wild.
And then Prolia is one of the newer injections. I think it's every 6 months, but that has that you can have spontaneous fractures in the hip head or the femur. I'm not sure which one. So you're taking it to prevent that. And then it has a black box warning for low calcium in people with severe kidney disease. What do elderly people naturally start to have? Their kidney function goes down. So then you have a big risk for that. And we all know that you don't get informed consent when you get handed a drug. So no physician, assistant, physician, nurse practitioner is going to say, hey, we got to be careful. If you get these signs, this is low calcium and you could die. Nobody says that. So estrogen, progesterone, and testosterone build bone. But I feel like estrogen, main job, progesterone, a close second, testosterone, you know, it's kind of right there. I've had lots of problems with my teeth. And here in Missouri, I had to get my second tooth implant, which I would do things differently now. But nonetheless, I went to get my tooth implant, and it was the bottom one that time. And he broke the drill on my bone. And he was like, this has never happened before. And I was in my late 40s, mid to late 40s. And he's like, this has never happened before. And I just knew it was hormones. And then it reminds me, because at this place, this oral surgery place, when you go to oral surgeons, they have you fill out questionnaire, and they want to know if you're on Boniva, Fosamax, any of those drugs, because you can get something called necrotic jaw, where your jaw just crumbles. So if they're in there trying to put an implant in or doing whatever, and the jaw crumbles, then nothing's going to be done. That is a consequence of those osteoporosis medicines, which nobody gets an informed. Doctors don't tell you that when you're going to give it. They don't say, hey, make sure you tell your dentist, because they get really hot when we get these. We give these because your jaw will crumble, has potential to crumble while they're working on it. They don't say that.
Wow. Good stuff.
Yeah. So take care of yourself. Remember, resistance training is just 15 minutes twice a week. You can do that. We just went to the gym this morning, then we ran by Sam's and the butcher and the local grocery store. So it takes us longer to drive there than it does to our actual workout.
Yeah.
Because we live far out in the country. Not far out, but we live farther out.
Yep.
But anyways, 15 minutes twice a week. That's all you have to do. And how much was this? Because you bought it. $39.99.
It's like $30, between $30 and $40 for a 20-pound weighted vest that Teresa got. And they have all different shapes and sizes and whatnot. So
Colors, all different colors.
Poke around a little bit and whatnot. And then I wanted to bring up too, with regards to the resistance training also. So those time under tension workouts, those 15-minute workouts, I did a video a little while back on that, and they're legit. But we're going to do one with Teresa as well. Not sure when we're going to do it, but we'll get around. We've had some people asking, to see her doing it, because they want to see a woman doing it. Yeah. We do some different exercises. We fully have plans to do that. And I'd also like to take you guys through and do some free weight exercises with the same principle, so you guys can take it and play with it and put something together that works for you, and something that you're going to actually do. But the smart workout, I can't say enough. It takes most of the excuses out. 15 minutes a day, very low impact. It's just an incredible.
You could do bands at your office.
Bands at the office. Yeah. We have truck drivers who are doing it in their truck. We've got flight attendants who who do it when they travel, because they can just stick the bands or the cables in their bags and take them with them.
Yep.
The busy business executives, we've got those who have them at their office, so they can just finally shut the phone off and just walk away for 10 or 15 minutes and do the workout in their office on their lunch break. Yeah. So anyway, kind of got off topic, but yeah,
we did a free weight one of me in the garage in 2020, January of 2020. There was snow in the background, but it was live. So Facebook's new policy, they're going to delete that. But I don't know if it's gone now, but I shared it back February 26th. I've had to look it up so many times for people. So it's there. So we've done free weights, we've done bands, and we've done gym machines. Yeah. So yeah, but we love you guys. We want you to be healthy. We don't want you to be in a nursing home. Frailty is one of the biggest reasons that women end up in the nursing home. Yeah. And so you don't want to, there's so many people. I've had quite a few young people recently come in with osteoporosis and spontaneous vertebral fractures, where all you do is stand up and your vertebrae just crumbles and breaks. It's very painful. You don't want that. Terrible. So take care of yourself now.
All right. Well, I think we'll wrap it up with that. Thanks. So thanks for watching, guys. As always, we love you all.
So much.
God bless you. We'll see you all next time. And don't forget, food matters.
Bye.
Bye, folks.